Superman 2. The adventure continues with the three villains from Krypton. Each one with the same powers as Superman. Each one dedicated to violence against mankind.
Think of it. 3 supervillains. Or 4 if you count him twice.
The adventure continues in Paris with Lois Lane.
I believe this is your floor.
And the romance continues. The adventure continues in Washington. The world is on the brink of destruction.
Superman, can you hear me?
And Metropolis is in ruins.
Superman, help us!
Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Superman!
General, would you care to step outside?
Revenge.
Revenge!
Revenge!
Now we're cooking, huh?
The big one's just as strong as Superman.
If you've only seen the first part, you haven't seen the best part. The adventure continues in Superman 2.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 50, Richie. Episode number 50 of the Wheel of Movies. Can't believe I've done 50 of these things. Richie's been here for most of them. He wasn't really my permanent co-host at the very beginning, but he is now. But yeah, 50 episodes of the Wheel of Movies. We've knocked off that damn wheel. Only about 2,000 more to go, Richie. So
we'll get there. We're chugging along.
I mean, Wheel of Movies, episode number 1,452. We're talking about surf ninjas today. As old men. Yeah.
I remember this movie.
Yes. But yeah, here on episode 50, we are discussing the late, great Terence Stamp. And in honor of Terence Stamp, we are talking Superman 2, specifically the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. We did a little poll kind of behind the scenes in one of our Facebook groups, and the Donner cut got the votes over the theatrical cut. So that's what we're discussing today. But I'm Austin Pezel, and with me, as always, is Richie Goodacre. Richie, how's it going?
Yeah, no, going good. Yeah, this is actually the first time I've seen the Donner cut, so it was kind of cool to delve into that. It's the first time also I actually purchased something for the show. I mean, like the physical media, because I was going to do it on through YouTube, but I happened to be at a store around here called JB Hi-Fi, and I was browsing, and it was staring at me right in the face. So I was like, I'll just get it. So yeah, no, it was a good watch, and yeah, happy to talk about it, and cool. Another Gene Hackman movie. We're on 3 now.
We've done 3 Gene Hackman movies kind of unintentionally in the last couple episodes because we did Crimson Tide when he passed away, and literally the last episode, episode number 49, we did Hoosiers, which we spun naturally on the wheel, and now we're talking about Terence Stamp, but Gene Hackman is also in Superman 2. So yes, we've talked a lot of Gene Hackman recently, but hey, I'm always happy to talk Gene Hackman as well. He's great, and so yeah, we finally get to touch on him as Lex Luthor, one of his more iconic roles as well. So, but yeah, I also I bought the Donner cut, but I bought this when it came out back in '06. So yeah, I've had this sitting around for quite a while. They have the new sets now that include both cuts. The theatrical and the Donner cut. I have the theatrical one on DVD, but yeah, I have the Donner cut, and yeah, it was one of those things where when it came out, I know it was a big deal, kind of on the internet. It was kind of a sort of a precursor to the Snyder cut, if you will, Richie. It's one that had always been like talked about even in early online discussions, about Superman lore, about how this movie, and that's most of my behind the scenes stuff, as you could probably guess, is mostly about the two versions and whatnot, because I won't get into a whole lot of everything else. It's mostly just about the differences. And I'm not going to go into every single little difference. There's plenty of video essays and articles and whatnot, or things you can watch on YouTube that kind of break down all the primary differences. But essentially, Richie, what it was when they originally did Superman 1 and 2, Richard Donner kind of was filming stuff simultaneously for both movies. Not necessarily filming one back to back, but just filming like a lot of stuff all at the same time, just filming stuff all over the place. So, they had Terence Stamp, they had Marlon Brando, all this stuff. They were just filming everything for all of this. And then it just came time to release the first movie, and they had to cut together the first movie. And then they went to go, start piecing together the second film, the part 2. They had shot like 80% of what they needed to shoot for part 2, and then the producers met with Donner, and they were kind of piecing together what they wanted to do, and the producers wanted him to take like a little bit different approach with some of the stuff, a few creative differences with the beginning and end mostly, and also they wanted to cut Marlon Brando out of the movie completely, because the way his deal works is if they had him in the movie, they would have had to pay him like an extra 11% or something pay, like, because he got paid the most obviously for the original film. He was top billed in that one, and it was a Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton situation, kind of like Batman '89. You know what I mean? He was like the most paid actor because he was the most well-known guy at the time, and they would have had to shell out a lot of money. And Donner disagreed. He said he's essential to even the second one. I need him, as you see with the Donner cut. Like, he actually has a pretty good amount of time, even in the Donner cut, and the stuff in the Fortress of Solitude, and plays an important role. And they have creative differences, and he basically left the film and was told, your services are no longer required. The producers fired him. So what happened is they brought in Richard Lester, who eventually went on to direct Superman 3 also. And then he finished a lot of the rest of the stuff that needed to be filmed, but also went back and like reshot stuff they had already shot for this piece so that he could have the sole directing credit on the movie, which also pissed Richard Donner off too. So it was almost a similar situation to, again, a weird similarity to the Joss Whedon Zack Snyder situation, where Zack Snyder then went back and pulled all this footage that he had shot and then used all new footage that wasn't in the Whedon cut, that sort of thing, and kind of pieced it all together. So it's an interesting thing. Again, I won't go into every little thing. The main thing takeaways are the opening is different, where it calls back to Zod and shows how like the events of the end of the first film sort of lead to Zod, being freed in this film, that sort of thing. All the stuff in space is all kind of brand new, sort of tying everything together. The ending with him spinning the world back again, we'll talk about that. That bugs me in these two movies, but that's different than the original one with the memory kiss wipe. If you've ever seen that part of the original ending of Superman 2, that's part of that. There's the extra scene of Lois pulling out the gun and shooting the blanks at Clark. That's a whole screen test scene that he had to use because that's all he had. But Donner wanted that, and just a lot of other scenes, and just an overall tone, Richie, of like a little bit more of a serious tone, because Lester is more of a comedic director. If you watch Superman 3, it's very comedic, very silly, and Superman 2, like the theatrical cut, is a little sillier, has more inserts of like, when they're blowing people around on New York and people getting their wigs blown off and the hot dogs coming out of, buns and just, goofy stuff like that. You know what I mean? That Richard Donner didn't want in the movie. He wanted more in line with the tone of the original. So, but you said it's your first time seeing this cut, so I'm assuming you've seen at least the original one at some point.
Oh yeah, again, that's the original cut a long time ago. It was like, I was introduced to all these like comic book movies like when I was a kid. So yeah, I watched Superman 1, Superman 2. I think I watched Superman 3. I watched Superman 4 a lot later on because even parents are like, "Nah, you don't need to watch that. What it's bad." Uh, uh, but I was curious later on, so I watched Quest for Peace. So, but yeah,
I've gone back and seen maybe 4 of the most out of the 4, just because again, me and you have that kinship. We love like train wreck bad movies, so I and it came on TV a lot, so I saw part 4 actually quite a bit growing up as well. Putting it on cable a lot.
Yeah, it's I probably watched it first time when I was on about like 8 or 9 maybe. Yeah, and yeah, no, and he's I I I confess I'm probably if I had to come down to it, I'm probably more of a Batman guy, but like Superman, he's right up there as well. So yeah, I definitely at some point probably had at least this one and the first one on VHS at some point. But yeah, so it probably I might have watched it one other time, like when I was a kid, but I didn't remember my first viewing. So yeah, so it was sort of almost like fresh eyes at least because I haven't watched them so long. But yeah, no, but yeah, still it's still good to go back. There were a couple of scenes that jogged my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, so yeah, so it was good to go back.
Yeah, it'd been a minute for me as well, because I remember, of course, I watched it when I bought this, and I probably watched it at some point in between there as well, when I was just kind of maybe doing a binge through the series and whatnot. But yeah, it's been a while since I sat down and watched either Superman or Superman 2. And, we could eventually spin the first one as well, because that's on the wheel. So, it's very possible we could spin, the original movie. But yeah, it'd been a minute. So yeah, it was a nice little refresh and going back. And yeah, then the topic of tonight, of course, is Terence Stamp, who plays General Zod. A guy who, I've not like followed his entire career, but he's one of those guys that, you've just seen a lot, in movies. Just one of those British, actors that has just kind of always been around. But they're good.
Oh no, I was just saying, he's there. He's there. Like he's always he's never like in like big tempo movies, but he's like he's there. There's a lot of like deep cut movies that you can check out. There's a movie called The Limey. He's pretty good in. This movie called The Hit, which is on Tubi. You check out. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the last thing I saw him in, I think, was a while ago, which was Yes Man, which is
Yes Man, yeah.
yeah.
He's the motivational speaker in Yes Man, right? Yeah, he's the guy who, and it says that actually his last performance was Last Night in Soho, the Edgar Wright movie. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's tooling around that movie a little bit. So, but yeah, again, one of those guys that he got an Oscar nomination. Again, he's been around for quite a while. Been a part of a couple big franchises, but I think he's kind of, I think to mainstream audiences still best known for this role, as General Zod here in Superman. So and there's still even those contenders online, as same with people talking about different versions of Joker and whatnot, of Terrence Stamp versus Michael Shannon. And it's one of those things where like I've always been the camp of like you can like both for different reasons. Like I think they're both a lot of fun. He brings a different energy to Zod, and it certainly brings that quiet kind of gravitas to this role. Michael Shannon brings I think a little more of the just sort of like over the top intensity and whatnot. So it's depending on whatever your flavor of the month is, whatever you're looking for, but it's a lot of fun. So and that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to like maybe. I mean, inevitably you're going to judge it too, but it's hard to sort of pick one or the other because they both do really kind of different interpretations of the character. So I'm like, well, Terrence Stamp does a good job with his version, and then Michael Shannon does a good job with his his version. So I'm like, I can't pick one or the other. Like, I mean, I've watched Man of Steel more, but that doesn't mean like, yeah.
Mhm. It's just that movie is more my speed of like, what I kind of look for, just in comic book movies and whatnot. I mean, I'm a Snyder fan, like anybody who knows me knows that.
Yeah,
But again, it doesn't mean I can't go back and enjoy, these movies, for what they are. It was a good watch. So, but yeah, we'll kind of start getting into it a little bit. June 19th, 1981, when the movie's originally released, and again, I'm using all the specs for the theatrical cut, obviously, because the Donner cut was released in '06, just on
yeah,
home media and whatnot. But yeah, June 19th, 1981. I kind of went into the different cuts and whatnot, and we can talk about some of the individual scenes when we actually get into the movie. Budget, and this was kind of for both movies essentially on the one, because again they shot a lot of the stuff together and then had a little bit extra money put aside when Lester came in to finish some stuff. But a budget of 55 million, so very expensive for 1981,
yeah,
pretty pricey. But the movie made $216 million, and the first movie made $300 million. So they were both very profitable,
yeah.
for Warner Brothers. So good stuff there. Yeah, interesting note, people forgot the story and screenplay credits Mario Puzo of The Godfather fame, which I always forget. So maybe there's your connection to Marlon Brando and whatnot. So and I think he directly wrote a lot of Brando's dialogue,
Yeah.
for both the movies, which makes sense. And then you want somebody like Puzo.
Maybe,
So
maybe that was his
request.
maybe that was his in his contract. I'm not going to do this movie unless he's involved, because obviously
Yeah.
Marlon Brando was like, infamously he was hard to deal with and had demands. So
And most of the time, actually, I do know this just from behind the scenes of even the original movie, was reading off of cue cards or stuff above the camera, things like that, just kind of, reading his lines. But, they wanted to have him because he was a big name. And The Godfather, he'd won the Oscar for it. So he was a big name, to get attached to that movie. So, it was a big deal.
yeah,
Even if he's just playing Jor-El. So yeah, real quick, Richie, the summer of 1981. Would you like to know what else was touring around the box office? Around
yeah, I
June,
couldn't even
June.
hazard a guess at that time.
You can hazard a guess of one or two of them if you want to. Yeah,
Oh, God. 81.
there's one really really big movie. It was the biggest movie of '81. From a very prestige director, and one we've covered here on Wheel of Movies.
Okay.
It was a movie that was a blind spot for you for a very long time.
Reservoir Dogs? No.
No, 81, not 92.
92, 81. Oh, wait. Uh, yeah. Indiana. It was Indiana. Indiana
Yes,
Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes, Raiders of the Lost Ark. A big, the big hit of 1981. So is in theaters at the same time as Superman 2. Yeah, Raiders was the big hit that year. It was the number one. Made about 230 or 240 million dollars at the box office. Big hit. But yeah, a couple of movies, noteworthy movies. Stripes. In theaters at this time with Bill Murray, making a lot of money. It was a big hit as well, big comedy. Bill Murray was, starting to really break out around this time, and that movie made quite a bit. The Cannonball Run, making some money in the theater, which I've never actually sat down and watched. I've seen the Smokey and the
I haven't
Bandit stuff, but
either.
I haven't seen the Cannonball Run movies. So maybe I'll get down to them at some point. Yeah, Superman 2 in there. History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks. In theaters around this time. So a couple of comedies. A movie called Dragon Slayer, which I've never seen, but I've vaguely heard of. For Your Eyes Only, you got a Bond movie also in theaters the same month for Roger Moore. And The Great Muppet Caper, which I haven't gone back and seen in many years. So I don't know.
Was one of the lesser Muppet movies. I don't know.
Yeah, from what I remember, yeah, it was one of the ones that just kind of came and went. I have not gone back to watch a couple of those mid-tier, Muppet movies, but so a few things to them around there. But yeah, let's jump into the actual movie. And like I said, the opening of this one, yeah, much different from the opening of the theatrical, which you see a little bit of in that trailer that I played. The opening is him saving Lois at the Eiffel Tower, in the theatrical cut. And then in this one, it's more just more of a tie-in to the original film. The ending with the nukes and the him spinning the world and whatnot, but him sending the nuke into space and then it kind of, exploding and like sort of knocking, the Phantom Zone thing into the path of Earth, essentially, is what it is, and freeing them, to where they eventually then come to Earth. So that's kind of literally like almost a direct continuation, and seems like as well, almost like happens within a few days or something of the original movie, which is kind of interesting, the way to just kind of tie it all together.
They don't even get a reprieve. You're like, well, I saved the world. Shit.
I defeated Lex Luthor. I saved the world. I spun back time. I saved Lois. We're getting back to good things. And now this other guy showed up on the moon and started killing astronauts. Yeah. So yeah, not much of a reprieve there. But yeah, I like the look of the Phantom Zone too. Yeah, just it kind of looks like this mirror thing, and then just kind of like being like, like pressed up against it or something like that.
Yeah, so like it's almost like the cover of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So they're all
when they're pressed up against the envelope, yeah. Which I always felt weirdly bad for whenever I watched that opening. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna get like sent to another state, or they might die in that envelope. But yeah, they get freed, and then we kind of cut back, and yeah, we're catching back up with Lois and Clark, and yeah, one of the primary things in the Donner cut is is almost right away. Lois has her suspicions about Clark and thinking that he looks suspiciously like Superman. Hey, she's an ace reporter, so it kind of makes sense. She's been hanging out with this little guy. She's starting to get suspicious, and she does, a pretty nifty thing. They got this nice picture of Superman in the paper, and she starts drawing like glasses and a hat, you know what I mean, all over the thing, and and even just flat out confronts him, in Perry White's office, and this is the stuff you like about Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve's chemistry in these movies. Richie, is like, just their kind of little back and forth, with Clark, with him just kind of pushing the glasses up and bumbling around, and I don't know what you're talking about, Lois. Superman, not me. Like that sort of thing. Yeah. Like, it's a lot of fun. Their little back and forth.
He doesn't do a very good job at throwing her off the set. It was just like, and it's like, later on, he's like, what if you are one of the same? Like, he's like, I don't do well with riddles. And Lois, I don't know if it's a riddle, man. It's very easy to figure.
Right. Yeah, he's not terribly like quick on his feet as far as coming up with excuses. And yeah, even in that first movie, he's always just like, oh, I got stuck in the bathroom, that sort of thing. But yeah, one of the things that also I think this was added in. I can't remember if this actual scene was added in or if it was a part of the original movie, where she flat out wants to kind of draw him out, so she jumps out the window of the Daily Planet.
Yeah, that's crazy. She just tries to jump and like the key. He's like, forced to at least intervene and do something. So he goes out and it's like, well, I can't fully reveal myself Superman. So he he activates his the laser eyes and makes it and
he makes his heart pop out, and then he uses his super breath to kind of like cushion her fall or slow her down a little bit. So yeah, I mean, she still bounces off and then goes into like a fruit stand, at the bottom of the thing. But yeah, and then he's able to kind of run back up, into the window, be like, Lois, you made a terrible mess of things. What happened? That sort of thing.
What happened with Lois? So she just stepped out, but how are you gonna explain it when you come back out? You're covered in fruit,
mm-hmm.
The extract of fruit and stuff like that. Oh no, I just jumped out the window. What?
Yeah, I don't know how you explain that to Perry or anybody else that you're covered in watermelon. Afterwards. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a pretty shocking little moment as far as she's just like, oh, I'm just gonna flat out, because what if, he points out later, what if you were wrong? What if it wasn't me?
for a movie standpoint, that'd be a good like parody for everything. He's just not Superman. She just died.
Yeah, splat. Whoops. All right. Anyways, I can see them doing that in a scary movie parody or something like that. Yeah, and just flat out splat. Yeah, see like some reaction shot from like a Leslie Nielsen. Just interesting. But yeah, we'll get to the second part of that. Yeah, where she has kind of another test that's a little more successful. But yeah, we get to see a little bit of follow up of Lex, and then get our first kind of glimpse of Gene Hackman, a bald Gene Hackman. So yeah, they shave his head in jail, which I don't know if he's wearing a wig later. I would assuming because he grows his hair back quite quickly. Yeah, if that's the case, he's got a pretty good head of curly hair on him later. So I don't know if he's just wearing like a Kurt Angle wig, when Kurt Angle was wearing the wig, after shaved his head. Yeah. Or what. But anyways, yeah, we see him and Otis in jail doing the laundry, and of course he's just lamenting about how he's the criminal mastermind of the century, and he's in jail. But Miss Tessmacher to the rescue, and she rescues him with a hot air balloon and drops a little ladder just and hooks him out of there with a hot air balloon. And Otis is a little too heavy because of course Ned Beatty stumbling and fumbling, and they have to leave him behind. But it's a bit of humor, but Otis was always kind of the comic relief anyways, with the Ned Beatty character. So I don't mind kind of the dynamic that he has with Gene Hackman. It's pretty fun for what it is. We don't get a lot of it, but this is all you get in this movie, pretty much of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, him and some banter between him and Tessmacher with the brief that we get, and it's kind of there's sort of comedic stuff there as well, I guess. Where like where she sort of feels a bit out of the loop with certain things, but the back and forth is kind of funny. But for the most part, it's there's not as much comedic relief as far like beyond chemistry between certain characters.
Yeah, no, and he knows where the Fortress of Solitude is, and kind of learns a little bit about Zod, so that's going to come into play a little later. And yeah, we get our first kind of real bit of Zod and his his henchmen. So it's Nan and Ursa. So and yeah, both kind of the soldiers, if you will. Nan is Jack O'Halloran, who's a boxer in real life, and a big like square jaw, giant dude. So yeah, he's a big mofo. And Sarah Douglas plays Ursa, and she's pretty fun. She brings a nice dynamic, and you can tell they kind of did like an updated version of this, in Man of Steel. With her in Man of Steel as well. So I like the fact they kept that dynamic when they kind of rolled it back for Man of Steel. But yeah, it's a fun little trio here. But yeah, it's kind of, when you actually watch it, I think in the Donner version, it's a little more like kind of dark and disturbing, because they pop in on the moon on this astronaut crew, that's there, doing research and whatnot, gathering samples, and they just straight up like they're chucking them into space and just cutting off their air, and like it's like kind of brutal when you think about it. Like one of them, she just tosses him into space and he just flies away, and another
just sends him into orbit. Sends him into the nothingness.
The other one's in the capsule, and they're just wrecking shop with like the capsules and whatnot as he's trying to get away. And like, yeah, it's a pretty brutal little introduction that and it's almost like they're just playing with toys. It's so easy for them. They're just kind of swatting people away left and right. And it's pretty interesting. And they hear about Houston, so they assume that the planet is Planet Houston, which is a nice little joke that comes back around a couple of times. It's an interesting little it's kind of a dark little opening for them as they make their way towards Earth.
Jack Halloran kind of he sort of a little bit reminded me of the giant guy in Happy Gilmore
Yeah, he's a little bit like Richard Keel. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Jaws from the Bond movies and whatnot. Yeah, he was also in the Flintstones, if you remember him. He's one of like Fred's buddies, like big tall buddy
Oh
guys.
yeah.
So yeah, he's tooled around a couple of things, but he's still alive. He's 82, and I've seen him advertise for quite a few. He does quite a few conventions still, so you can go meet Jago Howell and as well as Sarah Douglas. They both do conventions still pretty frequently. So you can go get their autographs. But yeah, so when we get back. Perry sends Clark and Lois to the to Niagara Falls to investigate, I guess, price gouging. is that all?
I wasn't. I kind of like wasn't. I didn't really follow why they were there. I was
like, why did they need to send reporters from the Daily Planet, not just some local reporters to investigate this?
I think it was an excuse just to have them together in a
in like a honeymoon suite. Yeah, because it doesn't seem like a thing that would be in a big national newspaper, of like, oh, hey, they're overcharging for the honeymoon suite at Niagara Falls. Probably it's a tourist spot, for couples. So I would kind of get that. Yeah, they probably overcharge it. So what? People have been doing that for decades. It's called a tourist trap. Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. It's like being like, man, Disney charges a lot for their on-site hotels. No shit, Perry. Did you not know this?
You know, gas prices go up a bit. Yeah.
Gas prices go up in the summertime when people start to travel a lot more. Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, let's do a thing. But anyways, it's kind of an excuse to just kind of get them together. But this is where we get one of the primary scenes that got added back in. And the whole sequence with Lois pulling out a gun and actually trying to shoot Clark. We find out it's full of blanks though, but he still reacts to it and kind of gives himself away. But this whole sequence is all just a screen test, so it's all essentially rehearsal footage that was kind of recovered. They never actually officially shot the scene, with the blocking and whatnot and everything. So everything you see here is just what they recorded for like a sort of screen test, chemistry rehearsal thing. But they were able to kind of put it back in. It's an interesting scene, and the reason Donner wanted it, and I totally understand why, is more for Reeves's reaction and the way he carries himself as the distinction between Clark and Superman in his body language, and his facial expressions, when you can almost see the transformation, when he like takes the glasses off and kind of reposes himself, and kind of folds his arms and like just changes almost like his expression. And Donner really liked that because he thought it showed Reeves's acting as far as like how good he was at, just not doing a lot of not changing into the costume, but the way you can tell the cadence kind of changes with them, between Clark and Superman. He thought that was pretty cool. And that's why there.
And I also think that, like, I'm glad because of the, I like that knowing that scene exists, and it's just a cute kind of scene that demonstrates the, the dynamite chemistry that they have. Like it's just kind of a cute sort of back and forth because when he's surprised, it's like, oh, what would have happened if Clark had died? He's like, with blanks, and I'm like, I was just like, I don't know, I just thought it was a good back and forth that really show like that, the just both of their sort of charisma, and I'm glad he kept it.
No, it's a good little scene, and I like it. And it lets them, they kind of have a little, romantic rendezvous at the Fortress of Solitude and kind of push their, relationship a little bit forward now that she knows, and it's fully open that, he's Superman and whatnot. And it's going to play into him, doing, and there were so many parallels with Spider-Man 2 when I was watching this, because there's quite a bit of Spider-Man 2 in this, the stuff in that movie where he loses his powers, and there's kind of a similar sequence here, where he's kind of given up his powers, just to become, a mortal man into the Red Sun chamber. But yeah, but it leads to some really great stuff where they reused again and reinserted a lot of this Marlon Brando footage and just kind of the giant head, of Brando. And how they did that is just he was on set just in front of this black, screen essentially, and wearing like a black turtleneck. So all you saw was his face, and they just shot it really close up. He's doing all this, and they just got to superimpose it into the scene and make it look like it's just this kind of giant, hologram head, if you will, of Brando. But I think it makes for some good stuff, back and forth where he's, imparting his wisdom onto Cal and whatnot. And I like a lot of their back and forth stuff here. It's good.
Reminds me of that dude from Power Rangers, the Power Rangers TV show.
Zordon. Yeah. Yeah. Rangers. There's danger. And Angel Grove. Yeah. But yeah, so he ends up giving up his power, but he doesn't know that he's doing it right in the midst of the fact that Zod is showing back up here on Earth, and they're kind of walking around, and they're discovering their powers, and they're discovering that nothing really hurts them. They have the heat vision, and they're playing around with that. She zaps a snake, that bites her and just throws it down.
She's like, look at my power! Holy,
you see what I can do? Oh my god! Zod.
She's just got fire. Shit.
Zod taking the sheriff guy's gun and just pointing at him and shooting himself, and just bounces right off. And you're like, oh, primitive weapons. It's a lot of fun. They're just kind of walking around, just casually, just taking over things. Like they're not, they're not storming into a town. You know what I mean? They're not, going into their guns blazing and doing. They're just kind of like, just people are, thinks we're causing trouble, and now they're trying to arrest us. Well, we're just gonna throw you into this building. Now we're gonna, here comes a helicopter. We'll just blow that away. Here comes a car. We'll just zap that with our heat vision. Just casually, just kind of brushing everything off. I think again, it's a different dynamic than Man of Steel, which I kind of enjoy, just them just casually taking over, this little town, and just making it, causing havoc. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I like how obviously because they come from a planet, they don't know what cops are and what their function, so they're just like, are you the leader? What's this? What's this? This badge? What is it? What did she say about the badge?
She's just like, what is this? A symbol of authority or something like that? And then and then when they get to the general, they're like, oh, so you're a general as well, and who is your supervisor? Who rules you?
My supervisor is the United States federal government. Whatever.
The president. Yeah, I only answer to the president. Well, then I will speak to him. Yeah, it's it's fun. Yeah, like the way he's just kind of casually figuring things out. Yeah, kind of piece by piece, and yeah, how almost with ease he sort of takes over the president and essentially the country. You know what I mean? Like pretty easily, guy. But I mean, we'll get to the actual siege of the White House because it's pretty fun. But yeah, he's. He doesn't know, Clark doesn't know that all this stuff is going on with Zod.
He's too busy getting his fuck on. He's too busy, getting.
He, lust can be a powerful thing, Richie. You know what I mean? And, maybe they couldn't consummate, their relationship until he became a mortal man. I don't know. But yes, he's sometimes it can cloud your judgment, even though even Jor-El is like, yeah, you sure about this? You sure you really want to do this? This is not probably not what you want to do. And yeah, he zaps himself with the red sun. He becomes mortal. It leads to this diner scene. Yeah, where him and Lois are stopping in to get some food, and there's a town trucker bully, asshole guy, and he puts a beating on Clark, and Clark kind of feels pain for the first time, and he bleeds, and he gets thrown into like a phone booth, and he gets kind of punched out, and yeah, it's a pretty like brutal little scene when he gets back up and his hair is all messed up and he's bleeding from the nose, and and it's kind of a an interesting moment where he's still got the bravery and whatnot, but he doesn't have the power behind him, But it's kind of again, kind of a dark scene when you think about it, just him tasting kind of pain and fear for the first time.
Yeah, like in vulnerability and the way that finally feeling mortal, where it was just like like, and then, when it's kind of, I mean, and also maybe embarrassment where you're gonna be like, I'm gonna front up this guy, I'm gonna, there's no issue here. I'm obviously, I was Superman, I'm gonna kick his ass, and then just getting pummeled.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's like, excuse me, sir, you're in my seat, and the dude just handles him like fairly easily. Even though Christopher Reeve's a pretty big guy, so like he's not like a small dude. It's not like he's a puny fellow. Like he's a very tall, bulky dude. And you figured he would have picked up some something, being Superman for a little while, but maybe not. Yeah, he's kind of a wimp, or could at least use the seat because the other guy's smaller than him and older as well. He's not like some young spring chicken.
Yeah, he's in his like 50s or whatever.
Dude looks like he's in his 50s. Yeah, he's been around the block for a while, so he doesn't look like a particularly tough guy. But yeah, maybe he just gets caught off guard and unanticipated. But yeah, it's funny how he does the transformation, Richie, pretty quickly. Is like, yeah, I made a mistake. I need to go back and fix this like immediately. I mean, not just because of the Zod thing, but I think also because he's just like, yeah, this is probably not a good idea for me.
I don't want to get embarrassed and then die in a
punches really hurt and bleeding sucks. So I need to fix this immediately. But yeah, so he heads back, to the fortress to go do that. And meanwhile, the Zod and the henchmen break into, and one of the cooler scenes in the movie, where they kind of lay waste to the White House. Yeah, they come like through the skylight, and they're getting shot at by everybody in there. They're just tossing dudes, left and right through the hallways.
There's a couple of scenes here that like probably weren't meant to be funny, but they were funny. There was one where like was it? I think it was the president that tries to like hit check out a Howell or something, and dong noise on his head. Like he gets, and then when he lifts him up, and then he just does it in one swoop motion, and then hits his head on the wall. Like it's not even like a gradual thing.
Right through the wall,
and then like the wall just like shreds like cardboard. So it's like it's like it was so funny.
Zod just like picks up one of the guns, one of the rifles, and just kind of casually just starts shooting it everywhere, just shooting everybody. I mean, not they each have their own style, not just kind of just he's just kind of a brute force of nature, just chucking people, left and right, and just breaking down walls and whatnot. I enjoyed later when he's going through the Daily Planet, and it's not like they just walk to the office, through the doors. He's just smashing every wall on the way to the office. You know what I mean? I appreciate like that aspect of it. He's just like this kind of gorilla, just smashing everything. But yeah, the White House stuff is fun, and they have kind of a decoy guy sitting there, and he figures out, he's like, no, you did that way too easily. Like that's not who you're looking for. And the actual president, he ends, he tells him, you're gonna kneel before Zod. He starts busting out the lines, and he does, and he kind of surrenders, the country essentially to Zod, and then he calls out Superman, that he wants he finds out from Lex Luthor, of course, the weasel that is Lex Luthor, trying to buddy up with the, he reminded me a lot of Benny and the Mummy in this movie, of just sidling up with the threat, so you're not in the path, of the guy.
Yeah, he's very much a cuck in this movie. He's very much I'm not like the big bad, but I'm gonna be sitting next to the big bad, so I'm not gonna so I won't feel, I won't be a threat. So but he's very much a bit of a bitch in this.
Well, and Richie, would you be okay with Lex Luthor ruling Australia? That's what he asked for.
Yeah, that's what the ruler of Australia. But at the especially at that time, sure, why not?
Back in 1981, I mean, could it get any worse? Nah, not really. So why not?
Probably not. I can't even remember who
I-
was. I mean, I wasn't alive then, so I don't know who was prime minister at the time.
Yeah, he wants some beachfront property in Australia, but yeah, he's offering up some info that they don't know that Superman that everybody's talking about is Jor-El's son. So they want to take obviously revenge on Jor-El, kind of, or revenge on Kal-El, excuse me, through Jor-El, and kind of get a measure of revenge there. And then Luthor knows, both, who Lois Lane is, the friend, and where the Fortress of Solitude is. So he's going to kind of, try to use that as leverage. But yeah, Clark gets his powers back because apparently Brando, Kal-El anticipated that he would do this and regret it pretty quickly. So, but he kind of had a backup plan that he was going to use sort of the rest of his energy, if you will, to restore him back. But if he does that, he disappears and kind of everything, shuts down. But he says it's part of a prophecy about the father becoming the son and son becoming a father. So, he does that, for it's a nice little moment where he's just like, father, dad, and he realizes he's gonna, go away. He's not gonna be able to talk to him anymore. Again, it's a nice scene, and I think it's played for. Again, a lot of these scenes, what Donner wanted to do was play up a few more of these kind of serious, more emotional scenes, and then bring and keep that connection, with the kind of father and son connection. Because in the theatrical movie, it's like it's like a lady, it's like his mom or something like that. Anybody wanted like the father son dynamic, and it makes sense. You want Brando in the movie. I mean, Brando is Brando. You still want him in there, because he's still a big star.
And I think there's more of a father-son dynamic in Superman, right? Obviously they explore that, more in, in Man of Steel. I think this is just more, it's just a lot more stronger. So yeah, it makes sense to kind of go that route. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So they head off to Metropolis, and Lex kind of leads them in, and they're going to use Lois's bait. But yeah, Superman's got his powers back, and we get a pretty fun, what's kind of known as the Battle of Metropolis, and we get a kind of fun 3-on-1 handicap match, if you will. Richie with Superman, fighting off all three of these guys, and yeah, again, it's not as dynamic as the stuff in like Man of Steel, of course, because it's 1981. They're doing what they can, but it's a lot of like, throwing somebody into something or throwing an object into somebody or, throwing things kind of back. I think there's one punch. He gets one punch in on Non and sends him, into the top of that building. But yeah, it's a lot of like, I'm chasing you, chasing me, throwing cars, blowing stuff up, a lot of back and forth, but not to say it's not fun. You know what I mean? Like when Zod gets thrown into like the big Coke sign, which I forgot about, and talk about product placement. My God, he gets thrown right into a Coke,
That one reminded me, like, so not only was like I feel like maybe it was almost like that Man and Web was also supposed to be a shitty nod to that as well. Like, how Man and Web
the Pepsi sign. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Man and Web, like, not only did Man and Web fail at everything, I didn't even pick out that it was probably supposed to be a shitty nod to Superman fucking.
And then Superman gets thrown into a Marlboro cigarette truck. So more product placement with the cigarettes, for the kids. I think one of the alternate things as well is one of the shots where Superman gets thrown is the stuff where he's thrown into the Statue of Liberty, into the torch. That was not in the theatrical theatrical cut. That was a Donner thing that he filmed of him actually getting thrown into the torch of the Statue of Liberty. So because it's a pretty cool shot for what it is. And yeah, he's but one of his weaknesses, as Zod calls it, is that he has compassion, for these primitive Earth creatures. That in the midst of the battle, he's stopping things from falling on people, and he's got to catch the bus and all the kind of stuff. And yeah, again, another sort of Spider-Man 2 moment where they think they've killed Superman, and they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna go, let's go get him," let's go fight these guys, and they very easily just push them away, even just with the breath. And that's where, again, it's played for less laughs. It's more just like them getting pushed, because again, in the original cut, it's like people getting their wigs blown off and dogs getting blown around, and people garbage flying into people's face. It's very much like more comedic, and than it is in this one.
And cartoonish from like ripped from a comic book, cartoonish kind of.
Yeah, and if you see the opening of Superman 3, the opening of Superman 3 is ridiculous. It's like a Rube Goldberg like thing where it's like somebody bumps into somebody else, which knocks over the pole, which goes into somebody's car, which somebody on roller skates drops a pizza. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's this whole like Rube Goldberg Final Destination thing. It's and that's a Lester thing. Is he's more like a comedic dude. So yeah, Donner wanted a little more stakes, a little more kind of serious nature to it. But yeah, Superman, he needs to get him out of there, so he flies, kind of back to the fortress. And is able to kind of goat them, back in there because he's got a plan. And yeah, it all kind of starts coming together where he's got an idea to kind of dispatch of them. You think he's gonna, surrender to Zod and maybe step into the chamber and zap his powers, to bend to sort of Zod's will. But he protects himself in the chamber. Richie, he pulls a little switcheroo where he protects himself and then zaps the rest of the fortress with the red sun, and is able to take their powers from it. So there's a funny moment when Don goes to fly into Superman, and he just kind of stumbles. Whoa, like he goes to take off and just falls into the abyss. It looks like the pit from like Last Crusade, that she falls in. And just like the foggy pit. I don't know where they're falling to, but just kind of a fun thing. Of course, Lex Luthor's still kind of weaseling. It's like, oh no, he's gonna go in there and hide himself. It's a trap. Still trying to play with whoever's in charge, and then tries to buddy up to Superman when he wins. I got a proposal for you. Hey, we got that was my plan all along. See, don't you see? No, he's just such a weasel. He's great.
Yeah, no, he was he was very much a politician on this. Yeah, like yes. very much very much a populist. Like, hey, it's the I'll go with who was winning, kind of.
It's a politician thing of like when they're at like a town hall or something, and they say something or they let somebody else speak, and they gauge the room first before they think of what they're gonna say. Like, and what's the crowd thinking? About this topic. Oh, maybe I'll skew my answer slightly to like please this crowd, as opposed to this crowd and whatnot. Just very like slime ball politician nonsense. But I do like the moment as well where Zod goes to like hold his hand out, like kind of a kiss the ring thing, and Superman just slowly like crushes his hand, as he grabs it. That's a fun little moment. Lois gets to punch Ursa in the face to kind of knock her down. So just some good stuff there where they've already had the big battle, so we don't need another big battle. We just had that a few minutes ago. So it's more of a him using his brains over his brawn to kind of take out Zod and the crew. But it's fun stuff for what it is. I enjoyed it. So so they go back and kind of have this goodbye where Clark kind of they have this moment where they realize maybe we can kind of be together, but maybe it's kind of dangerous, to be together, because of again, kind of similar to a Spider-Man situation where you get into relationships if somebody knows that there's a relationship, they can kind of use that to exploit it. So maybe they kind of agree to maybe not be together as much or whatever, but kind of still acknowledge it. And then they replay the part one thing where he spins the Earth back around again, which again not only doesn't work and would kill everybody on Earth, but that always kind of bugged me about the ending of part one, that's not how time works, because even if you spun the Earth backwards, time in the universe would still be moving forward, so that's ridiculous.
You can't actually alter time just spinning the Earth by spinning the Earth.
If you spun the Earth, and if the Earth stopped, by the way, with Neil deGrasse Tyson, you talk about that, everybody would slam a certain direction 800 miles in one direction, and pretty much everybody would die instantly if the Earth just all of a sudden stopped rotating or went backwards. It'd be disastrous.
So basically, Superman would be committing genocide.
Yes. Yeah. But he kind of it puts kind of restores sort of all the buildings and whatnot, and puts them back in the Phantom Zone. And then, and it kind of goes back to when Lois didn't kind of know who he was as well. And again, the original version, he somehow has a magic superpower where he can erase her memory with a kiss. It's like the magic kiss in the theatrical version, to make her forget who he is. I don't know.
That's like the old school like Batman. Adam West movies where he just so happens to have all of these, like, oh, I got shark repellent. I got this.
Superman has whatever powers are convenient to the plot. Yes, this episode. Yes, it's very much Adam West of like, you go back to the Batcave and he has whatever a machine that is able to solve whatever problem they need to solve, the whatever sorting machine, at the Batcave. Which again, that's all tongue in cheek and kind of fun, and it's all properly labeled. But I enjoy that stuff. But it's very much an idea of like Superman can do kind of whatever the plot needs him to do. In these movies, and not so much based on what he can actually do. But it is what it is. And then the final scene is him getting revenge, which is again, some people would argue maybe out of what Superman would do, kind of a petty thing of like, I'm gonna go back and put a beat down on this guy who was like a bully. I mean, they call back to this a little bit in Man of Steel, with the asshole in that bar, but he just wrecks the truck, he doesn't physically hurt the guy. But in this one, he just flat out goes back and like, and just, and messes with him and sends him down the bar and tosses him into the pinball machine, and kind of puts him
around, puts him on the bar, and you think, oh, that's it. And then he comically gets thrown, just gets yeeted right into a pinball machine, and he does what I call it the 80s knocked out, where they're like,
and then they like pass out. Yeah, it's the very comical, like over the top knock. Can you imagine if people at the UFC did that when they got knocked out? They take a punch and just it would be very, very silly. But that's pretty much Superman 2. Yeah, it's a different little button to kind of end the movie. And he makes a little joke about him, working out and whatnot. So, but the only thing I thought about this time was, if he spun the Earth backwards and did all that, why did the people recognize him at the diner? Because doesn't the guy like kind of recognize him, and that's why he does the working out thing? Because otherwise, the bully wouldn't know who he is, right? He would just be walking in for the first time.
Yeah, if they turn back time, then it would be he might just start, he might bully him, again, but it would be like he'd be a new, it'd be like his
new encounter.
New encounter, but like it was just like. But it kind of, it felt like you again type thing. You want some more? Yeah, because he kind of went like, oh yeah, I can do this. I beat you up last time. What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we kind of end the movie. And yeah, it's a strange little button to kind of end the movie on, but it's fine. And we cut the credits and we cut to the John Williams score. But yeah, overall, again, this is the first time I kind of sat down and watched it in a while. And yeah, it's still, I think, a pretty solid superhero film. Again, I'm more of a Man of Steel guy. It's just kind of more of my speed. Getting a little more of the themes, of Superman, kind of what he represents, and the action's a little more up to speed. But again, I still enjoy a lot of little scenes with Reeve and Margot Kidder, and their little banter and chemistry, back and forth, and a little bit different dynamic with her knowing who he is in this one. And yeah, all the stuff with Terence Stamp is a lot of fun. Like every time they cut back to him and Nod and Ursa are walking around and figuring out their powers and using it very casually, and just kind of just slowly walking around, and nothing's phasing them as people are either shooting things at him or whatever, just kind of casually blowing things up with the heat vision, or like you said, just tossing people aside, or just going crazy, just gorilla tossing people left and right, through walls, like you said, and just going kind of nuts. It's a lot of fun, every time they come to him, and when he slows down and is telling everybody to kneel. It's fun. He definitely kind of steals the movie, and he's a great presence. But yeah, how was your rewatch, Richie, overall with this one?
Yeah, no, it was I enjoyed it. It was real fun. I'm probably more also in the camp of Man of Steel, and even like the new James Gunn one, because I sort of do like a bit more of like I, I like sort of a dark retelling, but like like definitely Terence Stamp, and like that their kind of team up, and that dynamic was some of the best parts of the movie, and I did enjoy that. I think I do like I've always liked, like, it's one of my favorite, almost my favorite characters or subgenres movies, where it's just aliens who try to acclimatize to society. Just trying to. I always like that, trying to work out how things are run. Yeah, but like, yeah, no, but he's great, and yeah, like obviously the chemistry between Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve is dynamite, and yeah, it really makes these movies. So yeah, it's still really good. Not my favorite Supermans, but yeah, it's yeah, it's still definitely a worthy comic book movie, worthy comic book sequel, and yeah, I'm sure I'll get to it again at some point down the line.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I'm sure we again, we might even get to the original movie at some point and talk about that one, because that one's got a little bit more meatier stuff again with him and Margot Kidder, and just more kind of centered on him, since it's just kind of him and Margot and Lex Luthor, less of a Zod kind of dynamic and whatnot. But maybe we'll get to talk about that at some point, and if and not to say I would want any of them to pass away, but if like Margot Kidder, was to pass away or anything like that. Oh, that's right, she already died in 2018. I'm sorry about that. I
right, but like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but like, yeah, if you spin it, I guess it'd be funny if we spun it next. But
yeah, it would be weird if we spun it and like, and all of a sudden we had to like go backwards. It's just like, yeah, like a backwards thing. But no, I mean, seeing the Christopher Reeve documentary, that Superman documentary, which is really good. Last year kind of wanted to make me at least revisit one of these. So and yeah, I always still appreciate the actual Christopher performance, and the way he carries himself, both as Clark, and even the stuff at the end of the movie in this one, Richie, where he's just like the little things where he like goes to hang up the the coat like on the booth, the office desk, and it just keeps falling off over and over again, and he knocks the hat out, just like the little bumbling and fumbling things, which is just fun to see. He's kind of doing it intentionally, but just to throw people off. But it's still, just kind of fun the way he's play everything.
Yeah, or even it's like, I noticed like when he's like, they show him like going in, like walking into the office, and it's clear, like he's looking right at the door, but he's still like he's and he's got his hands full, but he almost clearly just still walks right into the door.
It's like it walks into the door, or if he knows you're supposed to like pull on the door instead of push, he still pushes on the door and then like pulls on it. These little things, that he probably already knows, but he does it anyways. Just to kind of keep that kind of clumsy nature. So yeah, no, he's fun with the way he kind of carries himself. And again, I really like that scene, where you see kind of the physical transformation as he kind of crosses his arms and turns into like the Superman aspect and whatnot. So no, good stuff overall. And yeah, if you're not familiar with Terence Stamp, like definitely go back and watch this, because it's certainly one of his more iconic roles and performances. And yeah, he's definitely a show stealer here. He's a lot of fun the way he carries himself. Azad in this one. So yeah, it's worth your time if you haven't seen it.
At one point, I can't remember what year, but at one point he was voted the world's sexiest man.
Was he? Okay.
In one of the years, yeah.
Terence Stamp was? Okay.
He has one of those distinctions, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Let me see if I can find that really quick. 1995, one of the 100 sexiest film stars of all time. Okay, interesting. All right. I mean, maybe. I guess in his younger days, he's a good looking dude back in like the 60s and stuff. So
yeah, I guess to me, and maybe to you, it's weird because like he's just one of those dudes because he like maybe got his break when like before I was born. So to me, he's always been old. So
yeah. No, I mean, there's stuff of him when he had hair, when he was doing like his his early British movies, in the 60s. A lot of like British cinema. I was gonna pull up. I do have a picture of him real quick. I'm uploading. You can see him with hair, but yeah, handsome fella, not a bad looking guy. So there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. You can see it. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, good. But yeah, he did have hair at one point. He wasn't always bald, so there you go. But I can see it in that kind of charming, British gentleman sort of way. I could see that. So all right, not too bad. Yeah, not one of the typical guys I think of when I think of like, sexiest Hollywood stars of all time. You think of like a Robert Redford, Paul Newman, Sean Connery, sort of a thing, right?
Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, old school guys and the new school guys.
James Dean.
Your James Dean, George Clooney, Brad Pitt. Kind of, sexiest men alive, sort of a thing. So yeah, your Patrick Swayze's. It's like, Terence Stamp is not one of the ones that would come to mind when I think about that. But hey, if it floats your boat, man. So we'll start to wrap it up there. We don't know what we're doing next on Wheel of Movies. This was again kind of another one of our impromptu sort of tribute episodes. To a great Hollywood actor. So we should be getting back to regularly scheduled wheel business in the next 2 weeks. So we'll probably spin the wheel probably after the family tournament tomorrow night. So we'll try to do that, or the week after. But yeah, until then, Richie, anything you want to throw out there? Anything you got going on?
William Marks here in just under 20 minutes. Talking Forbidden Door, talking news. There's quite a big news. I don't know if we'll talk about some controversy.
The Raja Jackson stuff. We'll definitely talk about that. 100%.
Yeah, fucking crazy. And then look ahead to Clash in Paris, because the pay-per-view PLE train never stops apparently, and so we got that going on. Talking about that. Other than that, I think at some point I'm doing the Lights Out singles tournament. I'll be using JPO, so check out for that. And when I can, I'm on Tournament Clash Tier Ranker. The schedule changed. My schedule changed a little bit, but when I can, I pop up there and Wildlife Horror and all that jazz. So yeah,
Yeah, no, and yeah, you can mostly find me here on the Movie Hero Network. I'm in JPO's Pierce Co. Tag Tournament, so me and Jonathan faced Richie and Steven the other night, so you can go back and check that out. That was a fun match, and yeah, so we're moving right along there. I'll be on Malcolm Lay's Spear from the Past on his personal channel next week. We're talking Survivor Series 1999. Has two historically significant things that happen on the show, neither of which have anything to do with the matches. So, and I haven't rewatched it yet, but it looks like a pretty rough show. So I'll watch it. But pretty much only noteworthy things are the angle where Steve Austin got run over by the car, and the fact that it was Kurt Angle's debut. That's about the two noteworthy things coming out of that show. So
Yeah, and maybe the Big Show, what people want time.
yeah, Big Show, yeah, winning the title and being maybe one of the worst champions in history. Because if you know anything about the his actual title run, if you watch Raw, like the couple weeks out, he just loses like every match, while he's champion, and then just loses the
And
title.
then like, at
About a month later, he loses the title. So yeah,
and at Armageddon a month later, he's in a title match against Bossman. It's not the main event; it's in the mid card.
yeah, it's a bad title run. So yes, we'll talk about it. Be a little rough there, but yeah. But if you want to hear us talk about a little more wrestling, yeah, the Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast. I'll link it in the Movie Hero Network Facebook group as well. Yeah, you can hear us talk, like I said, about Forbidden Door, about Clash of Paris. We'll catch up on the news, talk about the Raja Jackson situation. We'll definitely touch on that. So all that stuff we'll talk about on the Lonely Marks. So just here in a little bit. So yeah, that'll do it for tonight. So we'll wrap it up here for now, and we'll come back in about 2 weeks with another episode of Wheel of Movies. So Richie, as always, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. R.I.P. to Terence Stamp. Go check out Superman 2 if you haven't done so already. And that'll do it for tonight. So until next time, we'll see you next time on the Wheel of Movies. Bye.